At 70, Denzel Washington has nothing left to prove. 2 Oscars, dozens of classics, and a reputation built not on charm, but on discipline. But behind the calm, there's a storm. Because in Hollywood, discipline isn't admired, it's feared. In a rare sit-down, Denzel was asked if there were people he couldn't respect anymore. He smiled, the kind of smile that hides both faith and fury. "I don't hate anyone," he said. "But there are a few men I'd learned to stay away from. They teach you what talent looks like without integrity." 5 names, 5 faces, not enemies, lessons. Each one a reminder of how easy it is to lose your soul chasing applause. "This business doesn't change you," he said quietly. "It reveals you." And with that, the room went silent. He leaned forward and said, "Let's start with number 5. Number 5, Jamie Foxx." Once upon a time, Denzel Washington called Jamie Foxx a natural. Charisma, wit, rhythm, Foxx had it all. When they met during Training Day's Oscar run, Denzel saw a spark, raw confidence mixed with genuine hunger. But hunger has a way of turning into arrogance. It began when Foxx won his own Oscar for Ray. At the press conference, he joked, "Now I can finally sit at the grown-ups table, next to Denzel." The crowd laughed. Denzel didn't. Years later, Foxx mocked him on a radio show, calling him too serious, saying Denzel acts like every role's a sermon. When someone played that clip for him, Denzel just said, "He's not wrong. A sermon saves souls. What does a skit save?" The tension deepened when they nearly co-starred in a biopic. Foxx demanded top billing. Denzel walked away. "Fame is a disease," he told a journalist later. "Some catch it early, some don't survive it." He never spoke of Jamie again. But those close to him remember the one sentence he repeated quietly on set. "The loudest men in the room usually fear silence the most." And that silence, between him and Foxx, never broke again. Number 4, Terrence Howard. Terrence Howard was supposed to be Hollywood's next great actor, intelligent, magnetic, unpredictable. Denzel even mentored him once, teaching him pacing and restraint. But genius, Denzel always said, is a blessing that tests your character. And Terrence failed the test. On the set of The Great Debaters, Denzel wanted him for a supporting role. Terrence wanted to rewrite the script, expand his part, change history. "It's about the truth," Denzel told him. "Then let me be the truth," Terrence snapped. The argument ended with Denzel walking away, whispering, "Truth doesn't shout." Later, when Howard called himself the most misunderstood actor alive, Denzel replied in an interview, "If everyone misunderstands you, maybe it's not misunderstanding." For Denzel, Terrence represented a familiar tragedy, a man who could move the world but couldn't master himself. "Some people confuse chaos for passion," he said. But chaos never built anything. Howard's brilliance was never in question. His humility was. And to Denzel, that was enough to put him on the list. Number 3, Shia LaBeouf. Denzel met Shia LaBeouf on the set of The Equalizer's early casting phase. Shia was wild, raw, unpredictable, exactly the kind of energy Denzel respected, until he saw where it came from. "You can't control what's broken," Denzel said later. "You can only watch it burn." During rehearsals, Shia challenged every note, questioned direction, and bragged that Hollywood needed less structure, more chaos. Denzel replied, "Structure's what keeps the chaos from swallowing you." They never worked together again. Then came Shia's scandals, the arrests, the public breakdowns, the apologies. Each headline hit Denzel like a sermon gone wrong. He had fire, Denzel told a friend. But he thought fire was freedom. Years later, LaBeouf claimed Denzel didn't understand real pain. Denzel smiled when asked about it. Pain doesn't make you deep. How you carry it does. He never raised his voice. He just added another name to the list. Not out of anger, but disappointment. Because to Denzel, Shia represented a generation that mistakes rebellion for authenticity and ends up burning their message before anyone hears it. Number 2, Alec Baldwin. For decades, Alec Baldwin played power like a second skin. Sharp suits, sharp tongue. But Denzel saw past the charm. He saw the weakness behind it. They met on The Hunt for Red October set years ago, long before Denzel's fame exploded. Baldwin bragged, belittled crew, mocked extras. Denzel stayed quiet, until Baldwin made a joke about method actors with something to prove. At least we're trying to prove something real, Denzel said. Baldwin laughed. He shouldn't have. Years later, when tragedy struck on one of Baldwin's sets, reporters asked Denzel about him. He didn't gloat, didn't criticize. He just said, carelessness is a habit long before it becomes a mistake. To him, Baldwin embodied everything rotten in Hollywood's hierarchy. Power without empathy, influence without accountability. If you play God long enough, Denzel said once, eventually you'll meet him. And that was that. No anger, no satisfaction, just truth. Cold and final. Number 1, Nicolas Cage. Of all the names on his list, Nicolas Cage hurt the most. Because once, Denzel called him the fearless one. They were brothers in ambition. 2 men obsessed with risk, character, and art. But where Denzel found discipline, Cage found chaos. He's a man who tried to live every role, Denzel once said, until he forgot how to live at all. They met again years later at an awards dinner. Cage was eccentric, unpredictable, already fading into his own myth. He hugged Denzel and said, "You still doing serious stuff? I'm doing real life." Denzel smiled. "Real life doesn't need a camera, brother." Cage laughed. Denzel didn't. To him, Nicolas Cage represented the saddest kind of fall, the artist who becomes addicted to his reflection. He gave everything to film, Denzel said, except himself. That's why Cage stands at the top of his list, not as an enemy, but as a warning that even the brave lose their way when they mistake freedom for purpose. Talent is a gift, he said, but discipline, that's a covenant. When the interview ended, the reporter asked, "Do you really despise them?" Denzel paused. He stared at the floor for a long moment, then said, "No, I despise what they became, and what this town let them become." He pulled out a folded piece of paper from his jacket, old, creased, smudged, 5 names. Under them, a single sentence written in ink. You don't lose yourself all at once. You trade pieces slowly. The reporter went silent. Denzel leaned back and whispered, "That's why I stay scared. Scared keeps me honest." And for a second, you could feel it, not pride, not bitterness, but sorrow. The kind of sorrow only a man of faith carries after spending a lifetime watching the world trade its soul for applause. At 70, Denzel Washington isn't angry. He's weary. He's seen what fame does to men, the noise, the power, the poison. And yet, he's still standing. Every morning, he reads scripture before he reads scripts. Every night he prays, not for awards, but for mercy. When asked what the list meant now, he smiled faintly. "It's not about hate," he said. "It's about warning myself." He keeps that list in his Bible, not as revenge, but as a mirror, to remind himself that greatness means nothing without goodness. "They'll forget my movies," he said, "but I hope they remember my choices." And as he left the studio that night, Denzel turned to the reporter and said softly, "The devil never comes with horns. He comes with a contract." Then he walked away. No entourage, no spotlight. Just a man still fighting to stay human in a city that rewards everything but that.